You're listening to episode number 49 of the Transform Your Life from the Inside Out podcast. And in this episode, I'm going to talk even more about using your subconscious mind and dream time to create anything that you want in life. Now, unlike the other episode that I did, in this particular episode, I'm going to talk about how to discover the specific identity that you want to create using Dreamtime, how to find those answers, but the specific identity you want to create to have anything that you want to have and anything that you want to create in life. Keep listening. Hi, I'm Jim Fortin, and you're about to start transforming your life from the inside out with this podcast. I'm widely considered the leader in subconscious transformation, and I've coached super achievers all around the world for over 25 years. Here, you're going to find no rah-rah motivation and no hype, because this podcast is a combination of brain science, transformational psychology, and ancient wisdom all rolled into one to take your life to levels you've never thought possible. If you're wanting a lot more in life, to feel better, to heal, to have peace of mind, to feel powerful and alive, and to bring more abundance and prosperity into your life, then this podcast is for you, because you're going to start learning how to master your mind and evolve your consciousness. And when you do that, anything you want then becomes possible for you. I'm glad you're here. Okay, so dreaming in the subconscious mind. Now, if I'm correct here, I believe it was episode number 17, where I did a complete episode, and it was as comprehensive as I wanted it to be at that time. But episode number 17 was on using Dreamtime and the power of your subconscious mind to create whatever it is that you want to create in life. Working with Dreamtime, I once read that somebody wrote this quote where Dreamtime is your superpower. Now, I highly suggest that you go back and you listen to episode number 17. Why? Because, I'm going to just, as I want to be on every episode, just transparent with you. I'm doing a lot of video marketing right now, and we have a video coming out about Dreamtime and the subconscious mind. And I'd already created this podcast, and I'm like, there's no point of going back and just redoing a podcast that I've already done, or just rehashing it. So I want to take it a bit further this time with this podcast than episode 17. I want to give you a technique here that I really didn't talk about in episode number 17, so I don't have to repeat all of episode number 17 again. Just go back and listen to that episode. Either listen to it now or after you're done here. But at some point, go back and listen to episode number 17. That way, I don't have to talk just to hear myself talk. But what I want to add in this episode is a twist to episode number 17. And in just a moment, I want to talk about some other things first, but I want to talk about using your intention, using the power of intention to create in Dreamtime. Because I know in the last episode, I talked obviously to me, I talked about a lot of things relative to Dreamtime. But in this episode, we want to add something else that's going to make it a little more powerful for you. Okay, so, if you've been following me for any amount of time, and I do not mean to sound like a broken record, if you're new to following me, go back, please, to episode number 1 and start the series right there. I can't tell you the amount of communication I get, whether it be, messages on Instagram or emails to my support team and they send them to me. I can't tell you the amount of people that have actually started from the very beginning and just listened to them all the way through. We tend as human beings to, start wherever we enter, and many times we think, well, that's old content. That's not as valuable. That's not true at all in the case of my podcast, because I don't know that everything sequentially builds on each other, and I don't know that it's all a perfect fit as it builds. Yet everything from episode 1 to episode right now, to no matter how many episodes I do, whether it's 200, everything will complement everything. It's like they're all pieces of a puzzle. So you probably have been, you've heard me talk about be do have a lot and the be do have formula, which I think the podcast last week, and I think last week because I put out so much content that it runs together, was all about the be do have formula. So what I want to talk about here is be do have and intention as they pertain to Dreamtime. The reason that I'm doing this, and to be just absolutely transparent with you, I had to find a way in my mind. I sat down for 90 minutes trying to weave this together for you to give you massive, massive takeaways like I hope to do on every episode. And it dawned on me that, and it just popped in my head that there are so many people that send me communication. They'll send them to support desk or whatever, and they will say things like, Jim, I've never been a millionaire before. How do I be that? Or I've never created XYZ. How do I be the kind of person that I need to be to create the outcomes that I want? Now, when I talk about be to have, just go back to the last episode and I explained fully the concepts of have to be and be to have. Most people work backwards. They work from have to be, and where we want to work from, because we're conscious transformers, is we want to work from be to have. Who do I have to be to do the things that I need to do to have the things that I want to have? So let me ask you, how often, and have you ever asked yourself, who? Who do I need to be in order to have an extraordinary and unimaginable life? And did I say that right? Unimaginable. Or not yet imagine. Let me put it that way. Not yet imagined life. There, I like that fits better. But have you ever asked yourself, really just sat down and got quiet and said, what ways? What ways would I need to be to create an extraordinary life experience for me? Now, most of you probably have not done that. And then for many of you that have, based upon the feedback that I get, many of you have like, as I just said, I've not, Jim, I've not been the millionaire. I have not been this. I have not been that. So what ways would I want to be myself to create that? So we're going to actually start using Dreamtime, and we're going to dig into that for you. Okay, also, if you have followed me for any amount of time, you've constantly heard me talk about identity. And many people struggle, as I said, they struggle because they're trapped in their 3D mind. When I say 3D mind, meaning let's say your name is Susan. Well, you're trapped in Susan's mind and Susan's past, or if your name's John, you're trapped in John's mind and John's past. And what I want to do is I want to take you outside of what I call 3D, meaning the third dimension bag of skin of John or Susan, and I want to take you to a deeper place where you pull your answers from the universe about identity and ways that you need to be to create the most amazing life experience that you can have while you're here. Now, you've heard me also say that your identity, it drives it drives your entire life. I mean, whatever we do in the world is a reflection of our identity. If we smoke, then we are smokers. If we are broke, then we are brokers. Well, not really brokers, but we're actually poor or broke in our mind. So whatever we have as an external experience, meaning a 3D world, bank accounts, body, relationships, whatever we have in the external world is a reflection of our internal world. And I'm sure you've heard all the motivational speakers say that. And then you hear me say, well, it's a reflection of your identity. So a question that I have for you right now, another question, and you know that I ask a lot of questions, is what is the highest identity that would serve you? What is the highest identity that would help you have the experience of life that you want? Now, and by the way, I'm noticing that I'm saying now a lot. So anyway, I'll be mindful of that. Now, and I'm just kidding, that I'll be mindful because it's just habit. So for me, you probably have heard me say before that where I operate from is many people say they're human beings having, they're spiritual beings having human experiences. And where I work from, you might have heard me say before, is that I am a cosmic being having a human experience. So what that means is, I mean, I was somewhere before I came to this planet. I'm going to be somewhere when I leave. It's just not going to be in this body and on this planet. So when I work from that place, which is, it's just, I've done it for so long that it resonates with me at a core level, is being a cosmic being means that I can create whatever it is that I want to create. Why? Because I can draw on the power of the universe, and because I'm part of it, and that's physics as well. Now, this might not work for you yet. I don't know where you are in your own personal evolution, but I go back to again, and I want you to get emotional with this, meaning I want you to, when I say emotional, I mean I'll go deep with this and feel this, but what identity would work for you? Meaning, Who would you have to be, and what ways would you have to be to create the extraordinary life experience that you want? Now, I also want to point out that many of us have two identities, not even knowing it. Let me explain this very quickly. Is we have what I call a primary identity and a secondary identity. So the primary identity is who we are at a soul and core level. And I don't even know when I use the word identity if we can even get close to explaining that. The secondary identity is whatever identity you've given to the bag of skin you walk around in, the bag the bag of bones that you are. So I could say my primary identity is that I am a very, very powerful, infinite cosmic being. That is my primary identity. Now, I do want to point out that that primary identity also has dharma, meaning a sequence and order of being and things to do while I'm here. However, my secondary identity is Jim Fortin. I grew up in a small Texas town, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I went to college here, there. My hair color is this, all this other stuff. That's what I call a secondary identity. Most people get trapped in their secondary identity, never stopping to think, well, what is my primary identity? Who? Who am I? Who am I at a soul level? Who am I at a soul level is a pretty simple answer. You're a soul. I mean, it doesn't get any easier than that. But what I want to point out is even though you're a soul, something that I just alluded to is that we all have dharma. The definition of dharma, I've read a couple of definitions over the years, but basically it's a sequence of being, meaning that you've got things to do while you're here. What is it that your soul is to do while you're here? So some people actually confuse dharma and karma, and I look at both. But what I look at is even though I'm a cosmic soul here, and by the way, so are you, even if you don't recognize it as that, but I look at what is my dharma and what identity would I need? What identity would serve my highest purpose, which means my evolution and me fulfilling my dharma. Let me share something with you here, and I think I'd mentioned this on the podcast, and just bear with me as I go through this, okay? I've worked with a shaman for, I don't know, 23, 24 years now. It's been quite a while this lifetime. And something he introduced me to a lot of years ago is I'm going to call it the library of life, but it's not just that, and I'm generalizing a little too much there. But let's just say that everything in life is a teacher. Everything, the plants, the trees, the animals, the wind, everything is a teacher. Everything brings a message. And many years ago, he introduced me to what's called animal totems, meaning every animal carries what I call a medicine with it. The Native Americans actually called it animal medicine, and every animal has some meaning to it. So in my daily life, and just again, let me go several places in this particular episode. And by the way, if you're sitting here going, what is this blah, 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 I talk about this a bit in my transformational coaching programs, and candidly, I'm shocked. I'm flabbergasted at how many people take to it and they find so much life wisdom, extreme life wisdom in their lives when they start paying attention to animal totems. Now, in Native American and the animal totem cards, I use some particular cards called the medicine cards. And I think there's like 50 cards, and the cards are like 50 different animals: the fox, the otter, the whale, the brown bear, spider, raccoon, skunk, black panther, dragonfly, and turkey, and 50 different animals. And when I pulled my life animal many years ago, which this particular card deck will teach you how to do it, and they're just called the medicine cards. I don't know who they're by, but they're in a light blue box. You can get them on Amazon. And when I pulled my life card many years ago, before I did it, I was like, I want the Black Panther or I want the cheetah, like I want the cool animal. And I pulled the turkey. I'm like, what the hell? My life animal is a turkey? Are you kidding me? Really? I mean, that really bites. I got the turkey. And when I opened the book, there's a book with the cards, and turkey's about giving. And in that moment, I got it because it resonates with me emotionally, like I'm talking to you about. And then we're going to tie this back to Dreamtime. It resonates emotionally, and that's my life. Is I'm here to serve. And I think you know that by this point listening. That's what I'm here to do. Is Just let me serve, and let me serve fully, and let me use my life well by serving. So I do have the identity here. So I'm going to, bring it back in for you. I do have the identity of, I don't call myself a turkey, but I have the identity of my highest value of someone who serves. So the point here is so many people will send me emails or messages and say, but what identity? Well, that's why I asked you earlier, what identity could you have that would give you the most powerful experience of life? Okay, so I covered that. And as I said just a few minutes ago, is that most people work from secondary identity, which is who they've learned to become, and then they actually search forever. Well, what identity serves me? Well, obviously, there's a lot of parts of your secondary identity that do not serve you, but let's look at your primary identity. So I would say to concretize this, and this is not complete, it's not just like the end all be all me, but it's working from a higher level that I am a cosmic being who's here to evolve, I'm here to grow, and specifically, I am here to serve. So I must be those ways to fulfill my dharma and to have the highest experience of life. Whew. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. So what I want to look at next is I want to talk in just a moment about actually how you can find this answer for you or this clarity for you. Okay, so in episode number 17, I've covered pretty much all the basics, at least to the degree that I bring a topic here to the podcast. Is, what is dreaming, and that we're all dreamers, and we have daytime dreaming and we have nighttime dreaming, and people think they're different, but they're really the same thing. It's a matter of awareness, which is very, very powerful. It's a matter of heightened awareness to understand actually that we are one being at all times. We're just having different experiences. So I'm not going to go through all of that right now in this episode. So as I said, and I repeat myself many times for a reason, because repetition is the mother of all learning. So I reiterate, go back and listen to the episode on dreaming. I do want to recapitulate here that in that episode, number 17, I think the predominant theme of that episode was actually using Dreamtime to solve problems. Why? Because in Dreamtime, you are pure, unfettered consciousness. You don't have the hindrance of your left brain analytical mind. You don't have the hindrance of your left brain thinking about your past history. Literally, you merge with the universe. You are pure, unfettered consciousness. Your unconscious mind, which is 100% active at all times, but in particular in dream time, its job is to solve problems for you. So what we want to do is in dream time, we want to actually pass whatever problems we have to dream time and ask the unconscious mind to bring the answers to you. We want to use higher mind guidance. So this is what I'm suggesting that you do. Now here's a question that you could ask, and I'm going to give you the exact question. It could be this, is you could ask, which I teach in episode number 17, is ask your unconscious mind to bring the answers to you. It will bring the answers to you. It can be in terms of a dream, in terms of a metaphor, in terms of an aha, I got it, in terms of an epiphany, but in some way the subconscious mind will bring the answer to you. So a question, and then I'm going to actually make this stronger for you. So a question that you can ask yourself, because many of you have been asking me, a question is this: what is the most powerful way that I can be to create blank? And then put in the blank whatever you want. It could be $1 million business. It could be perfect health. It could be global impact. It could, whatever you want. But that's the question. If you're not driving, please write it down. And the question is this: what is the single most powerful way that I can be to create blank? And obviously in that blank goes whatever that you're searching for or looking for the answer for. Now, what I want to add here, what we want to use next, and here's the glue that makes it happen, and I did not really talk about this in episode number 17, is I'm going to say this very slowly, and it's very simple. It's just one sentence, and then I'm going to dig into this a little bit, is we want to set our intention. We want to set our intention that the answer to the question of what is the most powerful way that I can be to create blank, we set our intention that the answer will come to us. Now, what many people do is they actually ask the question, but they have no intent and their intention, and they're kind of like, well, maybe it'll come to me, maybe it won't. I don't know. I'm going to be wishy-washy about using this process. I don't know. Well, in that moment, your intention is all over the place, and you're not going to get the answer. Most likely, you're not going to. What you want to do again is ask the question and set your intention that the answer will come to you. All right, next. Some of you, and I know just based upon my energy and my following the people that I attract, when I say setting your intention, probably a lot of you know, at least analytically, what I mean. There are a few of you that are like, well, I don't know what you mean, so let me dig into it here. Okay, so setting your intention is, we live in a universe you've heard me talk about before, quantum physics, the quantum dimensions, physics. We live in a universe, and there's electrons, neutrons, and protons. I mean, it's just physics, okay? However, there's what Deepak Chopra used to call, like, it's a cosmic soup that we live in. I mean, everything is part of everything. So I'm going to try to make this as simple as possible. But let's say, for example, that this cosmic soup that we're all in, we're part of it. When you set your intent, which is intent, the cosmic soup is intent. But when you set your intention, let me give you a metaphor here. I'm just kind of babbling. Let me give it to you this way. Let's say that you have a piece of Play-Doh or a piece of clay, and it's just a flat piece of clay. And you take and it's clay, and you can see it, and it's smooth and flat. And you take your fingers in your hand and you press down in that clay, and then you remove your hand from the clay. What you've created is you have created an indelible impression. You've created an impression of your hand on that clay. Whew, there we go. I got it out. So that's what I wanted to share with all of you. So when you set your intention, which I'll give you some examples, when you set your intention, that is like using your mind to impress upon the universal clay. Now, as I said, this is physics, and a lot of people think it's woo-woo and all this kind of stuff. It's not. It's physics. And we're all bioelectromagnetic beings, as I talked about in episode number 9, how people use the law of attraction to repel from them. We are all physics and electrons, neutrons, and protons. The bag of skin you're in right now is electrons, neutrons, and protons and bioelectromagnetic. So don't you think the bag of skin you're walking around in, don't you think and don't you believe and don't you see how it interacts with the cosmic electrons, neutrons, protons, and physics? We are all part of everything. But when you use your intention, it's as simple as this. When you use intent and you set your intention, I'm going to show you what it looks like. All right. So my vacation home is in, and I mentioned Sedona, Arizona, only because I'm very partial. It's a very, very powerful place. And so my vacation home is there, and I've been looking for a while for the right, air quote, the house, my house. And I watched the MLS, the multiple listing service, every day when I was getting serious about, finding a property there. And one day, the very first day that this property came on the market, I looked at the pictures, and this is what I said. I'm going to slow down here, but this is what I said, and I wish you could see my body language, but I'm going to use my voice tone to convey this story. When I saw the property, this is what I said. That is my house. Now, I didn't yell it, I didn't scream it, but I'm doing that for effect because you can't see me physically, but I want you to pick up on my voice tone. I owned that house in my mind. I knew that house, even though I didn't even go out and look at it till 3 weeks later. I knew that house was mine. And that's what I mean by setting your intention, is that you know that it's already done. Let me give you another example here, is a metaphor, a way, an analogy, is for the most part, when you put an envelope into a FedEx box. Now, you put an envelope in a postal box, you don't know if it's going to get there or not. And generally it does, but you're like, it might not get there. But let me ask you, every time you have mailed something FedEx, you have mailed it with confidence. You're like, I already know it's going to be there. I've got a tracking number. Of course it's going to be there. Notice the difference between, for most of you, the difference between putting a piece of mail in a mailbox and a piece of mail in FedEx. Notice the difference in your level of confidence. One is like, well, I think it's going to get there, and the other is like, I know it's going to get there. That's what I mean by using your intention. And when you ask the question, what is the single most powerful way that I can be to create whatever it is that you want to create? And you give this to your subconscious mind before dream time. There's a takeaway. Because again, in sleep time and dream time, you're pure unfettered consciousness. So you ask the question before dream time, and here's the glue. I think it's all coming together, is that you set your intention that you will receive a very clear answer. Now, I want to point out also, you can use this with anything, any question you're asking or anything. But I know that, again, I get it all the time. I mean, it's probably one of the most frequent questions is, who do I have to be? So I can sit there and I can go all analytical on people and explain it, or I can say, you know what? Toss it to your subconscious mind and dream time, and then have the intention, set the intention that the answer will come to you about the way or all the ways or the most powerful way that you need to be to create that life experience that you want. Okay, so that pretty much wraps it up. In a nutshell, what we're talking about is using Dreamtime. Obviously, go back and listen to episode number 17. Using Dreamtime to discover, and by the way, if I give you analytical, here's the ways you got to be. Many of you will get in your analytical brain and you'll be stuck there. That's why we're doing this episode, partly because I've got video coming out also, but everything works. Everything works in terms of what I call synchronicity. So to me, it's no surprise that this particular episode corresponds to the fact that many people actually email me or message the team and say, well, who do I be? So it all works together perfectly. So your takeaways are, you're going to use Dreamtime to ask your unconscious mind, who do I need to be, or what is the most powerful way that I can be to create X, Y, Z, and then you're going to set your intention that answer comes to you. Okay, so your transformational takeaway is that you can use your dreams to lead you to higher purpose and to lead you to answers as to who you need to be to have the highest and most powerful experience of life. And then you're going to use and you're going to set your intention that that way of being comes to you either in dream time, in metaphor, or in an aha, or simply just in a knowing. Okay, so the next episode is a transformational story, and I have one of my students, Lisa, that I'm visiting with. And wow, I have Lisa's permission because we laugh about it in the interview, but Lisa was a hot mess when I met her. She was in an unhealthy marriage. She has 3 young kids. Her business was not where she wanted it to be. She was mentally struggling in a lot of ways. She was in a codependent relationship that really didn't have any power in it. And Lisa has gone from being an enabler in an unhealthy relationship, codependent, being, her words, we agreed, and we laughed about it, being a hot mess, to now a very powerful woman. She's no longer in that relationship, and she's running an extremely successful business. Her story is a phenomenal story, and if you have at any point in your life been trapped anywhere, and by the way, you're going to hear themes in my call and the interview with Lisa that you've heard from Nadak, and you've heard from Jennifer, and you've heard from Katie, and you've heard from other transformational stories and interviews. You're going to hear an additional, well, a theme in my conversation of Lisa, so make sure that you tune in. Okay, that wraps up this episode, and I will catch you over on the next podcast episode. Do what you can to make it a great day today. Bye-bye. Thank you for listening to this entire podcast. If you're the kind of person who likes to help others, then share this with your friends and family. You know, if you found value, they will too. So please share via your social media channels. Also, if you have questions, I'm here to assist. You can email me questions to support@jimfortin.com, and I may even use your question for a future podcast episode. Also, if you want transformational content like this daily, connect with me on Instagram. My Instagram name is I am Jim Fortin. Finally, I do have a personal request. I believe that we're all here to help others and to grow and evolve ourselves. Together, you and I, let's help more people. If you would please leave a review on iTunes, and a good one, by the way. I'd be grateful, and through your assistance together, we can transform more lives. Thanks for listening.